Hello, everyone. A warm welcome to all of you. So, thank you for gracing us with your presence today at our summit. Today, we gather here for our third edition of the Software Engineering Summit, making it our second successful event of the year. So, I'm delighted to serve as your host. My name is Isadora. I am the Program Manager at the European Leadership University. The summit is organized by the European Leadership University. So at ELU, we pride ourselves on offering flexible undergraduate and master's degree programs in the field of technology. And our unique approach focuses on developing competencies, building portfolios, and providing expert mentorship to ensure our students are well equipped for the job market. So, to delve deeper into our program and special offers, I encourage everyone to explore a little bit of our website. And additionally, during the summit, right in the beginning, I'll be hosting an information session dedicated to shedding a little more light on our programs. So, the primary goal of this summit is to explore diverse career pathways in software engineering and provide invaluable guidance on how to embark on a fulfilling journey in the tech industry. So, are we honored to have an impressive lineup of experts who are going to join today and share their wisdom, their insights. So, please prepare yourselves. We're certain that this summit is going to be a wellspring of knowledge and of inspiration. We want to be this an interactive environment, so we encourage you to share your thoughts, ideas, and comments via the chat screen. And I'm particularly intrigued to learn where everyone is from, so please feel free to share your location or your country in the chat. And moreover, we encourage you to actively engage with our speakers by posting questions in the comment section. And towards the end of each session, we'll strive to address as many of the comments, the inquiries, and bring this live elements to the discussion. So we've incorporated 5 minute breaks between each of the speakers. But please remember you're free to take breaks whenever you want and hop in whenever it's best for you. And once again, thank you for joining us. Let's embark on this adventure together and explore the possibilities in software engineering. So, I'm going to take a moment before we start with all of our guest speakers and delve deeper into the world of ELU and our innovative learning programs. As previously mentioned, I am the program manager at ELU, and I'll be your host for this info session. So, thank you for being a part of today, and delighted to have everyone with us again. If Ibrahim, you could share the slide exactly. I'm going to be talking about three of our programs, our bachelor programs. We also have master's programs, and I'll start with what you can expect. I'm going to be sharing the mission of YLU, why we are founded, our philosophy. Then we're going to talk little bit about the YLU learning experience, which is different from traditional learning experiences, and an overview of the curriculum of the three bachelors that we offer, and also a little bit of information about application, procedure, admissions, and tuition fees. And these informations you can also find in our website and can also email me anytime you want them. So, YLU is a young university. It was founded just a few years ago and it's focused on the tech and the IT domain. It was founded in a response to the tech skills gap in the Netherlands, but also in the rest of the European Union and also in the rest of the world. A lot of the companies today are looking for tech talent, but these talents are not enough trained academically with the skills they required on the work floor. So we see a higher need for these tech professionals and a skills mismatch or knowledge that you learn from a traditional university versus the skills that you would need in your job. So what an employer is looking for. This leads to a need for a different educational offer, which is the mission that we are serving today at ELU. Um, Okay, so we're focusing on developing job ready tech talents. So when you graduate, you will have the tech and the leadership skills that you need as a tech professional. So like many of you know that sometimes when you graduate, you get into the job, you don't know how to do anything. So when you graduate from Yale, you will have these talents ready for you. And we're also focusing on the business skills. Um, not the we're not only focused on the technical skills. The two first years are the mainly technical skills, but later we are also focusing on business skills. So how you actually communicate your products to a sales team, to a stakeholder. So you're going to be ready to be in the job market. So we have our ELU educational model key highlights. We are competency-based learning. So our programs are designed around skills that have been identified in conversation with the people in the market. So these technical skills that I talked to before, and also interpersonal skills that you're going to need as a professional. It's also a project-based learning, so practical learning, weekly-based projects, individual or in team. There are no exams, nothing like that. So everything is project-based. We also have an employability focus. This will help you build your portfolio to include it. You're applying for internships and jobs. And also, you're going to have facilitators and mentors that are working in the industry. So you can hear what it looks like in the field or how it is applied in the job. And then we also have this peer-to-peer focus. It's an online university, so there's a lot of flexibility, a lot of self-study. But you're also part of a cohort of students and part of groups of students. They're going to help you with the projects. So even if it's an online university, you have a lot of flexibility. You're still going to be part of a group and still going to be working with other people, have that peer-to-peer learning, and that's going to encourage you as well to make network, to learn more, to also teach them. Um, so we currently offer for the bachelor programs 3 different programs. It's software engineering, AI and machine learning, and data science. For our master's program, we offer a data science master's, but today I'm going to focus on the bachelor programs. So the target competitive today I'm going to focus more on the bachelor's program structure. It's a 3-year program. So there is some target competencies, the technical competencies and the non-technical competencies. For the non-technical competencies, they're the same for the 3 programs. So analytical thinking, structure problem solving, teamwork, self-directed learning, communicating for impact, trusted advisor. So all of these are going to be learning in all of the 3 programs. And then for the technical competencies, they're a little bit different for each of the programs. So in software engineering, you're going to be learning programming, analyzing software requirements, designing software architecture, building and deploying software, data structures and algorithms, building databases, and agile practitioner. All of this you also can get in our brochure, in our program handbook. So I'm just going to be talking about them a little overview, not a lot in depth. Then for the AI and ML engineering program, you're also going to learn programming. These are also in all of the programs. Designing software architecture, data structures and algorithm, data management lifecycle, data analysis, communicating data insights, advanced algorithms and optimization, and advanced machine learning and deep learning. And then for our last program, the data science program, the technical competencies are kind of similar to AI and ML, but they have some differences. So you start from data analysis, communicating the data insights, data engineering, advanced algorithms, and building, evaluating, and model. So this is the program overview. The first year is the basics. So the programming, this is the software engineering structure. The other ones are very similar. So I'm just going to be focusing on one. So the first year is the basic software programming. Second year is more of a specialization. And the third year is business skills, agile working, agile methodology, but also consultancy skills. So you're going to be working with clients, pitching to clients, and then you have your final graduation project where you're going to put everything that you learned into practice. So here you can see the different modules. You take break between each of the modules. They are not like the same calendar year as a traditional university. So, for example, the first module is 6 months. Then you have a break. The second module is 9 months. You also have breaks in between the modules, but you don't have the normal breaks that you would have as a traditional university. But everything is also written in your program handbook when you join YLU. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about the learning experience. So these are the different things that is going to happen on a weekly basis. So you start of the week by logging to the course platform. You're going to see your material, your content for the week, and also your project. You get started with your project. You have workshops, which is an hour and a half to 2 hours with your workshop facilitator. You have different facilitators for different modules depending on the people that are working on the field and what you are learning. Then you have action learning with your peers. You also have, you're also going to have squad meetings that you're going to get together with your groups. You're going to be divided into groups in your cohort as well. To talk about what you're learning during the workshops, to talk about the projects you're doing. So it's going to be more like of a group work, but you're going to be doing the same projects but separately. Then you're also going to have group projects, but these squad meetings are weekly. You're going to get together with them and talk about what you're doing, what you guys need help with, and things like that. And then you also have stand-up meetings 2 times a week with everyone at YLU, so you can talk a little bit of your blockers, what is going well for you, what you're planning to do that week. And then you have the projects at the end of the week. You're going to be doing them. You can do them in your own pace. There are some deadlines, but it's very flexible. And then Campus is our course platform, so where everything is consolidated into one space. Your calendar for your webinars are going to be there, for the workshops, for the events, your assignments. You can have discussions with other students. Your grades are there. So everything is going to be there. So the projects you are currently doing are going to be there. Your courses that you're going to take are also going to be there. So everything is going to be consolidated into Campus. So it's also important to log into Campus. And then Slack is our instant communication platform. There we have like real time announcements and updates, what is happening, if there are any events coming up, if there's anything we want the students to know. We are also talking through Slack. We also form the groups with the different students. So your groups and your cohorts, your squad groups, all of the groups are going to be there. You can also contact faculty, university staff, and also engage with the community. So everything is going to be on Slack as well, our instant communication platform, and we're always online there. So to talk a little bit about admissions, the academic background, you should have an English proficiency, so an IELTS 6.5 or higher, or a TOEFL of 234 or 90 to 91. For the professional background, a work experience in the IT field is preferred, but it's not necessary. The start date are March and September, and we accept application on a rolling basis, and there's no application fee. So for the application process, you just fill in the online application on our website, which is elu.nl, and submit your CV and your motivation letter. And then you complete the video interview, and then you receive your application results. So it's fairly simple and easy. And you can also talk to me, that I'm going to leave my email at the end, or to Lahuari at admissions, and ask any other questions you have regarding admissions. And then for the tuition, the registration fee when you're already accepted and you want to join ELU, it's 250 euros, and the total fees for the bachelor's is 2,900 euros per year. So you can have different payment options, yearly payment options, biannually or quarterly, so whatever is better for you. And then this is a little bit of an overview about ELU. So if you're aspiring to become a software engineer, an AI and ML engineer, or data science, ELU is the place for you. If you want to contact us, you can go to our website, or you can also reach me at isadora@elu.nl, or you can reach us at admissions@elu.nl. And then we also have all of our socials and everything like that. So whenever you want to talk to us, feel free to ask any. And that's it. So thank you for listening to me. If you have any questions, and please feel free to ask in the chat. But you can also send me an email if you don't have any questions right now. I guess that is it. Let me see if there are any questions regarding ELU. I don't think there are any questions. So I'm going to present our next speaker. So thank you, everyone. It was a great pleasure to talk to everyone. And I want to introduce our next, our first distinguished speaker. His name is Hisham Zmaro. He's a lead solution architect for data and AI at Microsoft. His session, aptly titled Unlocking the Power of Generative AI, promises to be a captivating exploration of cutting-edge technology and its limited potential. So during the session, Hisham will shed light on the fascinating world of generative AI, uncovering its applications, impact, and the opportunities it presents. So as we embark on this journey of discovery, I encourage you to open your minds to the possibilities that lie within this powerful technology. So welcome, Hisham, and thank you.
Thank you for coming to this webinar. I'm very, very excited to start this presentation and share with you some of the cool stuff I learned the last half a year. I'm very excited to tell you a little bit about how this technology is heading to, and see some examples and some demos. And I hope that I can inspire you to start thinking about getting out from asking ChatGPT or another large language models on usual things to more taking it to your business and thinking about how can I embed this intelligence things in my business or create new services. So first, a very short introduction of myself. I'm Hisham Zmaro, and I'm a lead architect for data and AI at Microsoft. Since now almost a year. Before that, I work in different industries, including banking, ABN AMRO, manufacturing, food industry, and other places. So let's start with a short agenda of today. We will talk about the recent developments of generative AI the last few years, let's say, but especially the last half year. And we will talk about what are the different archetype or the types of the generative applications, how we are applying them, and how some companies are trying to embed them in their businesses. And we will get in some examples and demos, and then go from a little bit the cool stuff to more serious things about how this kind of things can be embedded in the business processes, which is really the most interesting part. I mean, it's difficult, but it's all about how to get these things to create value to our companies. We show an example, and we conclude with a conclusion and some Q&As. Sorry. So introduction. So what are the recent developments of the world of generative AI? So it starts all with this accessibility of AI, in the sense that OpenAI and Microsoft are doing some really good job in making AI available at the hand of different people, from young to old, from developers to no-code people. And they also, this giant tech, including Microsoft, they put the resources, and they are committed to put these resources in the hand of startups and to create all these kind of things. How is that achieved is a combination between the academia, the tech companies, the big ones who are really investing very hard in research and development, but also bringing this research topics to really operationalization, making their expertise on operationalization software and services in the hand of startups. So this creates a lot of potential opportunities, not only for big companies, but also for startups who are creating very nice, cool applications. I was some time ago, a couple of weeks ago, I was visiting the TU Eindhoven campus. That is a campus in the Netherlands, where there are many startups, and one of the startups are really creating some nice application of this technology by creating new fashion by combining different pictures from the big brands and creating the new things. So using the generative AI on the top of different pictures from the fashion world. So there is now, I think, the time for business action, because we see that companies are really creating some value from this generative AI by, for example, understanding the documents that the companies they have, talking to their documents, creating assistants. And there is really some big opportunities for the business to take action and start thinking about introducing this technology to their businesses. So if we go to, okay, what we see in the industry, what is the how people are using these technologies. So we see three opportunities, or three possible way of using generative AI in your applications. We see the what we call the AI, or generative AI, infused in applications. What we mean with that, so AI is already in the application. You don't have to build anything. You don't have to build a software, or you need developers to do something with this generative AI or the large language models, who call them also large language models. So they are there, and you have an application. You use this application. One of the examples are the Duolingo. This is an application which you can use in order to learn new languages. And if you, for example, learn Spanish, you ask some questions on Spanish. You do some assignments in the app, and if the app, you can use ChatGPT together with the app to answer questions that the app itself cannot answer. So this ChatGPT is infused directly in the Duolingo, and you don't have really to build anything around it using your own data, for example, or other things. The AI-centric, which is really very interesting, and people are now trying to build applications around generative AI. So the generative AI is in the core, in the heart of software applications, and this generative AI is given access to different tools. The tools like Python, like tools like API, weather API, or other information. And this generative AI is acting as an orchestrator, and there is an agent who think about what to do and create an intelligent software application. I will give you an example later on. So the third AI type of using AI, of generative AI, is when you are creating this second type, AI-centric software application. and then you create it in different places in your company, and then they start exchanging the data or exchanging information between the different AI centric. So let's call in the next couple of slides, we call this AI centric AI agents. So this AI ecosystem is one agent is, for example, optimizing one task, another agent optimizing another task, and they will talk to each other in order to create an ecosystem of generative AI. So we will give examples from these three. So the last one, I don't have a specific example, but we will go back to the concept of what is an AI ecosystem at the end of this presentation. So let's go to what we mean with AI infused, generative AI infused type of application. So the next one, I hope that you understand a little bit how this AI infused. There is an application like Power BI or Dynamics 365 or Teams or other application. You infuse AI on it in order to make it more intelligent. You don't have to write code yourself to create visualization or ask something about your database. The AI is there. You put your question in natural language, and then the visualization and the answer come pop up in your Power BI. The second one is more about creating yourself an application around a generative AI, and I will give you an AI centric, and we'll give you an example of a GPT lawyer assistant. So this is a very conservative sector, lawyer. So how it's done normally? So you have a lawyer from one side, and you have the client from the other side, and they have a conversation about a case. And at the end, the lawyer takes some notes and takes some transcripts, and then he take it and put it in a file. And at the end of the day, he come back to the case and try to match the case with the law books and come up with some advice and recommendation to the clients. So how can GPT-3 or 4 help a lawyer in order to make an effective decision and make the work of the lawyer easier? So I have here a very high-level architecture. So you can read it like this. So you start from 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5, 6, 7, 8, 10. So the lawyer in his office has a lot of documents, articles, and knowledge base that he is using in order to make decision about a specific use case. So normally what you can do and how you can use generative AI and OpenAI in this case in order to help you to understand what is in the law books. All the law books can be digitalized. So you put it on text, and from text you put it on small chunks. You embed it in digital format. It's called vectors, and you put it in a database. These vectors really have a semantic and understanding of semantic meaning. So every chunk, every PDF is chunked in small pieces and put in the database, and you can ask questions to the database in natural language, and it gives you an answer back in natural language, but the matching is matched in a numeric in a numeric way. So what's the books are embedded in the database. From the other side, you have also this conversation between the client and the lawyer. This conversation is registered as an MP3. OpenAI has also a library that can transcribe this MP3, put it on text, and this text is again embedded or digitalized in a semantic way into a database. So from one side, you have the knowledge base, the law books, and everything that's about the law. And the other side, you have this conversation between a lawyer and his client. So all this information is put in a database. At the other side, or later on the day, or tomorrow, or when the lawyer has some time, he come back to his computer and start asking the questions. For example, please provide a summary of my conversation with John Smith of this morning or the last week. And then the ChatGPT gets this question and match it with what John Smith said in his conversation with the lawyer, give an answer, and then go back to the lawyer. So the lawyer is now using ChatGPT in order to ask question about the conversation and what's the law say about this conversation when this low knowledge base is digitalized in semantic meaning in his database. This is one of the AI-centric apps. So the large language model himself, you can ask questions about John Smith, the client of the lawyer, but you cannot get any relevant answer if you don't have this information, this conversation. So summary, the conversation is between the client and the lawyer is summarized and put in a database. The knowledge base of the law also in the database, and the lawyer from the other side is questioning some question and get some answer. So instead of going back to his note every which are written on pen and a paper and trying to match it to the books, the ChatGPT can help you to do so. So this is one of the applications of building an AI-centric apps around generative AI. This is one of the most popular. So people are really now creating application that can talk to your SharePoint or to your HR document or other documents. So using the reasoning and the intelligence of ChatGPT in order to understand your unstructured documents. So we talk about building the AI-centric apps, but one another application of this generative AI is the following. So let's see. This is very simple example, but it gives also a very strong idea how you can use generative AI to do more than what you think that generative AI can do. So, for example, if we tell ChatGPT generate an image, compose a fighting caption, and read out loud the content of the image, just like this one, this prompt will answer. And I'm an AI text-based model. I'm not able to generate or display image directly. However, I can certainly help you to come up with a fitting caption for an image. This is not what we want. We want really an image. So what we can do is, this is a very strong thing of generative AI, and I ask you please to take here a little bit to understand how this GPT 3 and 4 works. So they are reasoning. So if you tell them, okay, next to this request, which is on natural language, generate an image, compose a fitting caption, and read out loud the content of the image, you give them also some tools. You tell them, okay, you don't walk alone. I give you some tools. I give you some things that you don't have. Like I give you some library from Python that creates an image. I give you some other libraries that creates a caption, and I will also give you a library that get the text to the speech. So this generative AI or GPT-4 starts thinking about, okay, I'm not alone. This guy who is working with me at this now, he is giving me a request, a prompt, but he is also giving me some tools. And these tools, I can use them. So the point here is that ChatGPT understands what image generator is. He understands what image caption is. So he will start creating code to take this image generator library and make an image. When the image is there, he will understand what on the image is and create a caption. And also when he says, okay, this guy is asking me to read out loud, that means that this text, this caption, I will take this caption and I will convert it to speech, and I will read out loud the content of the image. This is done himself, but of course you need some kind of frameworks to let this ChatGPT do so. So what is here? So you have this instruction that you cannot do just with standalone ChatGPT, and you have the tools. And here you have a prompt. I will ask you to perform a task. Your job is to come up with a series of simple commands in Python that will perform the task and the task is generate an image of a Maine Coon Gris cat sitting down, resting, blah, blah, blah. And then he said, okay, I have this task. I have a number of tools, and I will create an agent that I will use this image generator to generate an image, the image caption to caption the image, and the text to speech to read out loud the content of the image. Then go into Python, and then from all this combination, the prompt and the tools, the intelligent agent will create an image, and he will also create and caption and read out loud. Yeah, thank you very much. So we talk about the AI infused in application. We talk about AI centric apps. So you have the generative AI, and you give them access to other tools, and the AI will create its own application around the LLM, the large language model. And we want to talk a little bit, because this is this is not mature yet, this creating an ecosystem of plugins. And this is what you see in the website of OpenAI, and is also coming to Azure OpenAI. So you have people create plugins that give you access to different websites, different tools, like, for example, people from mathematics knows about Wolfram Alpha. Wolfram Alpha is a portal where you can do a lot of mathematics operations. So you give ChatGPT the access to this Wolfram Alpha through this plugin, and he will calculate integral, do some differentiation. But if you give them different plugins, or different access to different plugins of different other applications, he will think about, okay, I need Wolfram Alpha for mathematics, I need Speak for to speak, I need Kayak for other things, and I need Expedia to look for good price tickets, and all this kind of thing. So he understand for what these plugins or these applications are used for. So, okay, this is very nice, this is cool, and we can go Hugging Face, and we can create an application, and we can give the ChatGPT your data and ask him to talk to your data. But how it's people trying to put it in their business. So in order to do so, I will just sketch a kind of a very high level process, a business process. So this is a lending process, just very high level. We have on the left side, we have an Ambition courier in North Brabant in Holland, and his ambition is to become the largest courier in the North Brabant. So he wants some loan from the bank. And in the process, you have a number of steps to go through. So you have the orientation through calling the bank or through the website, and then you receive an advice and evaluate the risk. So you have to go through these steps. But at the other side, we have ChatGPT, and ChatGPT for the most people is just you have a prompt, you have a black box comprehension and reasoning. It can reason, and you have a response. So you have a gap between what ChatGPT can do as ChatGPT or GPT-4 and a generic process. It can be the lending process or data management process, or it can be a procurement process or an onboarding process for HR. So I think myself is the most value that we can really extract from this generative AI is to bring AI to these processes and try to automate a number of steps or optimize a number of steps. So what is happening now is that people are trying to create frameworks and tools that can really bring this intelligence, this response. This response can be a code or can be a natural language, and then put it in plugins, in frameworks. We have this LangChain. It's really a very popular framework we have from Microsoft Semantic Kernel, and build pipelines to bring the reasoning and the intelligence of ChatGPT or GPT-4 in general to automate or to optimize one of the steps of your process. So let's see how this works in practice. So let's say, okay, I want to do something. I want really to bring this orientation more intelligent, more smart. How to do that? So just you can given what we have seen, if you give the ChatGPT, given his intelligence and also the power of reasoning, we can give him some tools and he start thinking about what he can do. So let's say about this orientation, we will create here an assistant, an OpenAI, and generative AI assistant. We will create another one here, and then we start creating a collection of agents that can optimize your process. And this agent will talk to each other, or at least the input of one is the output of the other. And then we create an ecosystem of agents that optimize one of the processes in your company. So let's go and see, okay, how can we, for example, the orientation phase, how can we use ChatGPT in order to help our courier to orientate better and to get more information? And how can this bank who is giving loan help, or how can ChatGPT help a bank and the courier in order to have a good conversation? So what we can do is how you can think about this kind of thing. So in every step of the process, you can think about, okay, I can use here a ChatGPT or a GPT-4, and I can give him access to a database, to an internal API, to other documents, and ask him how, for example, best price quotation. So I can create a bot of an agent. He go and ask the database, or ask a document, or ask other things, and come up with some information, combine them, and get some suggestion for the best price of quotation. The same you can do it for the other steps, and you create a number of intelligent agents for every step, and then you combine them, and then you create an ecosystem of agents that help you to optimize one of the processes that you think it's optimal. So I will always recommend to start with operational internal processes, which are not exposed to the customer, because this technology is still new, and we have to go and to see how it works, and if there is any mistakes, or how to operationalize them. And also I will recommend that the human should be always in control. So this guys here, this agent will help you to optimize, automate, and to make this process, to accelerate them. But at least in the beginning, when you don't exactly know how these agents are working together and how they are making decision, as someone should be always as human in control and validate the inputs from this agent before really make a decision. But I believe that in the future, in the coming few years, this agent, we will trust them in order to optimize our processes. So I hope that let's summarize. So I have 4 minutes. So we started with, okay, where we are coming from. Things is going very fast. People has access to this technology through APIs, to the web, like the ChatGPT, the web apps like ChatGPT. Companies are trying really to take advantage from this technology and put it in their business. We have seen that the AI is infused in will be infused in the most of Microsoft product, like Power BI, Dynamics 365, Power Apps, and all these kind of things. But also people are infusing this ChatGPT in some, like Duolingo, we say, okay, sometimes it's not enough to just use ChatGPT as it is. We have to build an application around it by giving ChatGPT, or in general generative AI, access to other tools, APIs like a weather API or search machine or something different. And we have seen, okay, how to bring it to our business processes. So you have to understand what is your business process, and you have to understand what data you need, and you have to understand how this generative AI works and how to give them tools in order to start reasoning and making use of these tools in order to build application around themselves. And at the end, these agents, when they know each other and the first one is optimizing this step of this process, the second one is optimizing the second step. This agent will use the input output from each other, and it creates an ecosystem. So one thing I want to say that someone said, in a few years, anything that is not connected to AI will be considered broken or invisible. Therefore, so ensure your data and processes are right. So if you don't really understand your business and what you want to optimize, and how this small thing that you are optimizing locally, how it has impact on the bigger picture of your processes or business, then it's very difficult to really take advantage from this technology. So get your data right before you start doing generative AI. I'm not saying that you cannot do it. You can do it, but it will be very difficult to scale the advantage of generative AI if your data and data management and your processes, understanding your really processes, if they are not right, is very difficult to scale up the generative.
Thank you so much, Hisham, for delivering this exceptional speak that truly resonated with everyone. Your insights are very valuable. And now joining me on stage is our visionary founder, Alper, as we delve into the topic of how to lead forward in the era of generative AI. So the leadership capabilities in the era of generative AI. Generative AI has become an undeniable force in shaping the future of technologies. So we have the privilege of exploring the leadership capabilities required to navigate this landscape nowadays. Hi, Alper, how are you doing? You're on mute.
Yes, I was on mute, sir. I was on
How
backstage.
are you?
The two things I hate on these online things, when I find myself saying, "Can you hear me?" That's one thing, and you're on mute. Anyway, but it's I've been kind of long enough on the backstage. Anyway, great to be with you, and great to be with you all joining us in the TechMind Summit. So yeah, nice to be here.
Okay, thank you. So I'll start by asking you a question. So what do you think has changed with generative AI for us as tech professionals?
I think it was awesome, Hisham. Thank you so much. I think it was awesome vision for us. When we started European Leadership University, one of our assumptions was our new co-worker was going to be machines. So and the data scientist, software engineer, or machine learning engineer, they are the new managers of these new co-worker. But one of the other assumption together with that one was this new co-worker could do a lot of things if you know how to communicate with them. And one of the things that we were anticipating that co-worker would do would be the coding itself. So at that time when we started, the coding boot camps were very popular, but I was always saying that just learning to code would make us the future blue collar worker, because it's vulnerable to a job that could be easily replaced by machines. And at that time it was such a hype, it was very hard to be heard. But now we're in the age of generative AI, and now with very limited knowledge of coding, you can get ChatGPT to do the coding for you. That's an amazing change. When we first knew that, saw that, we were all stunned. I mean, you can see lots of videos of, developers on YouTube, really stunned about this. So now we have the machine who can do the coding for us. And if coding is the only thing I know, then I think I have a problematic future because um, that more and more the machines will replace it for me. I mean, I don't think um, a machine can right now replace software engineers at big scale, but definitely junior coders can be replaced very easily. So yeah, that's a big change, and that big change kind of mandates us to think differently.
Yeah. But you still need like a critical eye to look at the codes, even even
Yes,
if you, I mean, if you don't know how to code at all, I don't think Chat GPT is gonna help you. It's gonna help you, but not 100% because you still need that critical eye to look at the codes
I
and
think
see.
yeah, I think this is like the actual takes us to the next question. What kind of skills do I need? Um, Isadora, my assumption is I think right now um, you still need to know a little bit more, quite a bit of coding to use ChatGPT for coding. But this will become, my anticipation is this will become more and more mainstream with
Mhm.
in the near future, less than a decade or even 5 years, even shorter. I think with zero coding knowledge and experience, you will be able to generate code and communicate with machines. So
Yeah.
the machine will communicate with the machine. So I think there are two important, really important skills. As you said, yes. So let's stay today. Let's not go to the future. So you will, of course, you will need to know languages at a certain level, just enough to understand what's going on and what you can ask, what you cannot ask. The basics and the fundamentals and everything.
And also,
Yeah, go
yeah.
on.
Also, maybe these languages will be taught in like high school, like basic, like we learn math
Yes,
nowadays.
it will be mainstream. I think, I mean, when we're talking about software engineering as a career, as software engineers, we will need still to excel in the languages that we use and speak. So I'm not suggesting that you stop learning languages. No, we should. But what's going to happen because of the level of our knowledge and languages, the amount of time that we're going to spend on the coding itself will exponentially decrease because of the support we can get from machines. And that will decrease even further if we know the language and if we know how to do it better. So then, what are the skills that we're left? I think one skill is really the skill of inquiry or the skill of questioning. This is important. This is an important skill for a software engineer in the era of generative AI for two reasons. One is, I think, the way we communicate with the machine is really through a mode of like prompts, and prompts are a mode of inquiry. Like you're kind of asking something to the machine, and the machine gives you a response. And the better you ask your questions, the better solutions, the better answers you get. So inquiry skills, prompting skills, questioning skills are very important. But that's important also not with the human to machine communication, but it's also important for the human to human communication. Because why do we write a code? We write a code for a solution. And why do we need a solution? There's a need, there's a problem. And the better we understand the problem, the more robust our solution will be, the more robust our code will be. So really understanding the need with the right questioning is very important. So that takes me to the next kind of group of skills, which I call relational skills. I think software engineer, a typical software engineer, should be the master of relationships, should be the master of relating to machines through the code, by means of code, but should be master of relationships to also human workers, co-workers, colleagues, clients, whoever that you're in touch with. And then I look at the relationships at different levels. You can have relationships like with one-to-one. So you can sit with a client, with a colleague who wants to do something with you. So that one-to-one communication, which is the conversational skills, questioning, active listening, rephrasing, all these skills, or coaching are very important at the one-to-one level. Then we have relational skills needed at a group level, which is one level higher than one-to-one. And then because we can use the group wisdom for a solution, for a need, again, for a project, then we need to get the best of the minds and ideas of that group, which call this facilitation skills, facilitating group dynamics, working with a group or working with a team. So I think team facilitation, understanding team dynamics is very, very important. So that's the stage 2. And the stage 3 is, for me, is then you go beyond teams, beyond groups, which is then we work with an organization. And when you work in your own organization or in your client organization, if you are a freelancer or a service provider, is then we have another set of relational skills that's very important. Be becoming a trusted advisor, consulting skills. So I think as technology professionals, beyond the technical skills, these are really, really must to have to survive in today's world, because our main core skill is now being taken over by machines, when we don't need to spend as much as time we used to do for the application of that skill. And finally, if you are going to go beyond, you can relate to a community, which is like community of practice, like technology professionals and everything. That relational skill in a community is like thought leadership. So you got to able to communicate with podcasts, broadcasts, authoring articles, this kind of stuff. And these are very important. So, at least 4 levels, like one-to-one level, I would say coaching, questioning, inquiry, listening, and at the one-to-team level, one-to-group level, facilitation skills, and one-to-organization level, consulting skills, and one-to-community level, thought leadership through podcasts, broadcasts, or articles writing. I think very, very important for today's technology professionals to go beyond coding.
Yeah, and I also think that sometimes we think about software engineers and technical professionals as people that work alone with their computer and have no communication with the outside world, and that's very wrong, I think, assumption.
Yes, I mean, there are challenges of being social, but we have to accept that we are relational, social beings, even. So we get much more energy from social engagement. The conversations are in the simplest sense. So building these skills will also give a different color and depth to our life, as you say. We are not confined anymore behind the screen. So
Yeah.
we can talk to real people. We can have meaningful conversations. And I come from technical background. I have some neurodivergent tendencies, highly functioning, slightly autistic, and I learned in time where building these skills made my life much more easier and meaningful. And I can just simply recommend the same to everyone in the technology domain.
Yeah, I agree. And how do you think we can develop these skills?
I think that's a great question. I mean, it's going to be it's going to be like it's going to be like a little bit promotion. But one of the things we do in European Leadership University is we build these skills in we build these skills within our curriculum. So in our curriculum, you don't do only learn a language, but you learn and build these skills through different means of learning. So I think being part of our learner community is a shortcut. But you don't have to go to a university program or a long-term commitment. You can always learn these skills. What I would really seem to recommend is, I think, find online or physical resources where you can start building coaching skills, facilitation skills at the minimum level. So the consulting and thought leadership can come at the second stage. So there are lots of certifications that you can get for coaching, which would be my starting point. So really become a good coach. Once you become a good coach at the one-to-one level, it becomes much easier because you will be a relationship expert. You will be mastering connecting with people, sharing your ideas and everything. And so then, get the certification and build time, build track record with the coaching skills that you learn. So use it at work, do some pro bono coaching so that you become better in different levels of coaching, different stages of coaching. Then you can take it to the next stage where you facilitate groups, which is simply team coaching, group coaching in a way, but with the awareness of group dynamics. So there are lots of offers on the market, but the best way is really make sure that it is practical. It's not only knowledge. It's something that allows you to practice these skills.
And I also think that the more you use your skills, you're gonna develop them more. Like the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it, and the easier it is.
Yes,
For
yes,
me,
and
with
also
any skills.
yes, exactly. I think the practice allows us to have diversity, to have kind of experience, the track record. One of the things also we will come across, like when we have these skills being practiced, is people are not like they are not like things. That everyone has unique character, unique personality, unique preferences. So I think you becoming a master of human relationships is also becoming almost a human connoisseur in
Yeah.
time. So you get to understand different preferences from different reactions you get from people. And then, so as you said, when you build a track record, there you will know more about people and you will find the right strategy to really connect and communicate with these people in the right way, in the way that you can reach to them and they can reach you. The other thing I could suggest, and also, in addition to relational skills we just covered, I think critical thinking or critical subjectivity is also very important. I just being aware that as a technology professional, when you build a code, when you build an algorithm or a model, being aware of your assumptions and what you are including or excluding when you build these are going to be very important, because we're talking about like ethical AI, ethical coding. What does it really mean, ethical? I think what it means for me is what you do is for a good purpose. It's for the sake of humanity and for a good impact. And then, so we have our conscience, which is always with us, and being on contact with our inner wisdom and being aware is only possible by being aware that what are the frames of mind that I am using and assumptions I am using in when I'm building this code or this model, this algorithm, and what are the things that I'm including and excluding. It's very important. I mean, sometimes I get questions from people where, well, I mean, technology or coding is so objective. It's so, cornered, and we need subjectivity. And I always say, this is where we really need subjectivity, because we build things for people, and then we have so much, unconscious bias. Um,
Yeah.
for example, sometimes, like for example, lots of developers or coders or software engineers are, they are still dominated with um, men. So one of the things we realized, with the face recognition and with some of the other tools, they were unconsciously biased towards masculine needs or masculine characteristics. So I think, which actually exclude half of the other population, women, for example. So, and it's a shame. I mean, to have something like that. The second thing I would say, for example, there was a case with a bank in US, which was using a model for credit scoring with AI, and I think they were unconsciously discriminating their clients because they were using different criteria based on their location or ethnical origin or whatever linked to the location and everything. In these neighborhoods, we have these kind of people, whatever, and then we should use these kind of criteria, whatever. So becoming aware of these kind of unconscious biases as technology professionals will not only make our solutions better, but also they will make us more human. So for me, that critical subjectivity is really, really important.
And I also think like working with other people will help you with this bias because each one has a different kind of bias, different perspective from different things. So,
Yes, exactly, and that's our richness. That's our diversity. I mean, we have this. We have this also, like in terms of relational preferences. We call that neurodivergence. People. Some people have different preferences in terms of connecting with others, connecting with things, and so we got to be aware of that. We got to be an expert of these differences rather than assuming that our preferences or our normal is and should be the normal for everyone, which is again a shame. I mean, so I think we can make it better
yeah.
uh, with, uh,
And,
with
yeah.
others.
And what do you think is next? So we'd like to hear a little bit about your perspective for the future of tech professionals.
Yeah. So I think what's next. I think, well, the generative AI will become more and more mainstream. So I think so becoming aware of that and embracing that is really important for everyone, but mainly for technology professionals or those who want to be software engineers, data scientists as well. So, and mastering generative AI in different ways is, in that sense, is very important. So prompt engineering, in a way, is the near future next for me. But I think in a world that's going to become more and more served and by machines, so different ways of connecting the machines will be important. And then yes, and then the second thing I think, which is also in the horizon, is ahead of AI, is distributed, a new technology called distributed ledger technologies, which is in the popular terminology blockchain. You know, yeah, some we know blockchain with crypto and Bitcoin in the popular sense, but blockchain has a very significant and deeper potential impact on the way we live, we work, we connect. So, so being abreast of this new technology, staying always updated with blockchain is really important, because I see blockchain with, as a as a kind of a technology which will bring seismic changes, really strong, dramatic changes to our society and to our tech profession. You know, what will change? I mean, and to me, what is the block? What does blockchain do? Blockchain is simply, for me, the trust machine. So it replaces the need for any institution, any structure that provides trust, so any intermediary. So when we have the need for such a, let's say, trust institution, which who are these? I mean, like banks, you know, regulators, um, universities, political parties, parliaments, all these bodies which actually provide us trust, or intermediaries like Google's and Facebook's, they won't be needed, because we don't need an intermediary. We will not need an intermediary for trust. So blockchain will replace, and we will become more and more peer-to-peer. So I think this the building, deeply building tsunami that's going to wipe out the way we do lots of things. So as technology professionals, we should be prepared for that future as well, with all the necessary skills. So in addition to the languages that you know and the skills that we mentioned, definitely I would strongly recommend, if you have not already learned, definitely learn Python. Python will still be applicable in the distributed ledger world. Yeah, that's I think that's the mid-term future that I'm seeing. The future, which one of my favorite authors call "Life After Google." So read that.
Okay.
So
I, I also think we're like not just like generative AI is not good, just gonna help us with coding, but with like we're gonna save a lot of time with a lot of the things that we do, and then we're gonna have a lot more time to discover new things or think about new things. So
yes, but I think that's very important, Isadora. Thank you for bringing that up. There's, you know, I'm very much for generative AI, but there's a danger about the generative AI as well. Well, that's also what's next, what's future. I think for technology professionals and anyone, we should be aware of that. You know, generative AI builds the knowledge base on the legacy of human knowledge for whatever available on the internet, and it kind of, as a machine based on the code, gives us some answers. And one of the dangers, if we don't have critical subjectivity, one of the dangers is after a while, when we use it at such an extent that you just described, we tend to subcontract the truth to the machines. So we may, imagine a generation which has never looked up an encyclopedia or Google even, and they always ask the answers to ChatGPT or generative AI. And there's always a danger of, taking the answers and the responses as the ultimate truth or a sub-objective truth. But we have to be aware that also the generative AI has subjectivity. It includes and excludes things. It filters out things. So having the ability to be, critically critical with that as well, it will also save us even extra time. Someone was saying about one of the generative AI tools of one of the large companies. I'm not going to give the name, but because of the quality of the answers and the reflection that the person had with the quality of answer, they would call their machine as a pathologic liar. So, I mean, machines don't lie. I mean, machines just tell us and make things out of that. But we may have some not so true outputs also from the machines in the long run. So being able to curate and critically think about what we get out of machines is going to be extremely important, so that we keep our sanity. So otherwise, it's going to be a very, very difficult future, and we're going to be questioning machines too much in that sense. So that's something I would also recommend. Really, keep always be critical, always question.
Perfect. Thank you so much. So we also have an announcement today that Alper will be shedding some light on a significant milestone in our journey. So it's the rebranding of ELU to Amsterdam Tech. So this occasion marks a transformative chapter, redefining our institution's identity and positioning us in the forefront technological innovation. So Alper will talk a little bit about the driving forces behind this rebranding and strategic goals and aspirations for Amsterdam Tech, and share a little bit of his insights, how this will amplify our educational offerings, our partnerships, and enhance our commitment to nurturing this talent.
Amazing.
So can you please share us a little bit about the story of this change?
Yes, I think, well, as of this week, European Leadership University in Netherlands is becoming Amsterdam Tech. So we're becoming the Tech Institute out of Amsterdam, joining the community of Institute of Technologies around the world with with a dream, with a mission, with a purpose. So and we started as European Leadership University with the focus on employability and skills gap, but our work in the last 4 years has actually made it very clear that there is the biggest skills gap and development area, as we're discussing in this session, is on the technology domain. So I think we have, in that sense, we have made a clear choice that our focus with still, with employability and skills development emphasis will going to be on tech. So I think that that change is kind of a commitment to tech, which is going to be like that for a long time. That's also an assumption. The second commitment we make with that change is to Amsterdam as our base, which is a European capital of innovation, It's an amazing ecosystem of creative, smart people, and we want to make our offer available out of Amsterdam with the ethos of Amsterdam, the creative, innovative ethos of Amsterdam. So, and therefore, we kind of merged our two institutions already operating out of Amsterdam, European Leadership University and Amsterdam Institute of Technology, under a single brand name as Amsterdam Tech.
Yeah. So what is Amsterdam Tech, and how is it going to be different than EVLU, if they will be different?
Well, yeah, I think Amsterdam Tech is really building on ELU's footprints and legacy, which is really digital first, employability and skills based tech institution, built for the skills gap. So we will keep that essence. I mean, even though the name is brand new, but it's built on the 30 years of track record in the skills development that we have in our group. And I think so we'll be the new generation. We are, and we will continue to be the new generation higher education institute, which provides what we call full stack education, from skills all the way to jobs, as before, out of Amsterdam.
Yes, perfect. And what does Amsterdam Tech stands for?
Well, I think we stand for, really, one of the values that we stand for is freedom. So what I mean with freedom, it sounds like an activist conversation, but freedom, what we mean with freedom is being choiceful. So in that sense, it kind of gives us it, and has two meanings for me, being choiceful. I think being choiceful in terms of your future, your opportunities, so you can have like lots of opportunities ahead of you with the help of the skills that you've built in Amsterdam Tech. Either you become a software engineer or a data scientist, a machine learning engineer, but also being choiceful, also the way you perform your practice. So you can choose to work for a corporate environment, or you can choose to be a freelancer, or you can choose to initiate a startup with some of your colleagues or classmates or people in the industry. So, but that's kind of, from the output perspective, that's what we gain and make out of this program. From an input perspective, also being choiceful is having a variety, a diversity of choices available to learners in terms of their, for example, learning preferences. We talked about neurodivergence. So one of the problems of the traditional classroom education is it is location-based, it is physical, and it doesn't cater all different types of learning preferences or neurodivergent needs. And we actually, because it doesn't cater that, we call some of them like a disability, which I hate to hear. It's not a disability of the people, it's a disability of the system. So I think the system, with the help of technology, now we're able to cater and offer a wide range of people and their needs. So this is why you see, as you described in the initial presentation, this is why we have a kind of a huge set of learning accelerators, as we call modes of learning. So we have workshops, live workshops, we have digital library, we have interactive textbooks, we have mentoring, we have squad, we have action learning, we have peer-to-peer coding, we have projects and assignments. So you have, I think, definitely a mode of learning that suits you best, but also you have other modes of learning that can challenge you and help you to practice and grow into the modes of learning that you're not so comfortable, but you're not confined to them. While you master the best mode of learning that works for you, you can always get better in the other modes of learning. So that choicefulness is also another face of the freedom. The other face of the freedom is, because we are a digital first institute, so you can do our programs anywhere, anytime, without limitation. You don't have to be in a physical campus. And we, with the mix of synchronous and asynchronous and live and recorded, or or content or offers, so you can manage your time and presence. That sometimes you can socialize on a Slack channel or on a town hall with your co-learners or the faculty, but sometimes you can just go behind the screens, quietly do your assignment as a code or something. So we stand for that freedom, choicefulness. And then I think whenever I hear or talk about freedom always comes with another value. Freedom comes with responsibility. Freedom comes with accountability. They are always together. So the other thing that therefore we stand for is accountability. And what does it really mean? I think as an institution, we practice that. We take charge of what we do, what we offer, actions, but we expect it from our learners as well to take charge of their learning. So in Amsterdam Tech, you don't babysit like you could expect in some of the traditional organizations. You are not taught things. You are not told things. Instead of that, we give you the environment, the tools and resources and the culture that you can flourish, you can excel. And it's really up to you to make the best of yourself. We will always be on your side. You will never walk alone. But at the same time, it's your mission, it's your responsibility to learn, to grow with our support, with the community's help. So the accountability is the second thing that I would say we would stand for. And actually, aren't these the people, type of people that everybody is looking for? Like they have a free mind, creative, they can build things, they can make things, and also you can trust them, you can rely on them because they are accountable. I think that's the bare minimum that we should be as technology professionals, and these are the values that we stand for.
Yeah, and also these are the values that you would want in a person that's working with you. So
yes,
perfect.
yes, and sometimes I get for also in terms of standing for what we stand for. Sometimes people look at it. You can see our website shared here. I think, what does the logo mean? I mean, the logo always reminds me the choices of gateways that we offer in Amsterdam Tech. As I described, like you either professions or the way you practice your profession as a freelancer, corporate, or startup. So that we also stand for that with the logo as well.
Yes, perfect. And then the last question for you is, what is your dream for Amsterdam Tech?
I think my dream for Amsterdam Tech is to go beyond becoming a higher education institution. I think in the short term, we are internationally accredited. We provide degrees validated by our founding partner, European Leadership University. But in the short term, I think we'll be one of the newest University of Applied Sciences, local University of Applied Sciences in the Netherlands. So we are in that process right now. So we'll become not only international, we'll become Dutch. So in terms of local recognition. But then in the mid to long term, I think my dream and our dream is really to create a global tech community of like-minded people out of Amsterdam. So I would imagine like our alumni would always stay in the community, sharing their expertise, sharing their network, sharing their knowledge, where they, they grow the community with their contributions, but because of that exchange, they also keep growing, they keep learning, they keep having more opportunities. So becoming a global tech community out of Amsterdam with these values is, I think, is my biggest dream, which we can all keep growing and nurturing the best of ourselves in that community.
For sure. Thank you so much, Hopper. Thank you for coming
Thank
and
you.
joining us and talking about
Thank you for
Enter
giving
the
me the
Tech,
opportunity.
generative AI, and everything.
Thank you, Isadora. Thank you
Thank
for.
you. Okay, so a big thank you to Hopper coming and talking to us. And for the next speaker, I'm happy to introduce Hugo Marinier. Maybe I'm saying your name wrong. He's a facilitator at the European Leadership University. He's also a freelance full stack developer. Hugo will be telling us some tips and tricks for software engineering. So thank you. Welcome, Hugo, and we're glad you're here and joining us.
Hello, thank you for
Hi.
having me.
Of course.
That's a nice experience, to be honest. Yeah, it also was a really insightful discussion. Just add, it's a good thing. It's nice. I love the term. It's nice.
That's good. I'm glad.
That's what I'm going to say as well, because I'm going to talk about a lot of things, except the technical side of the actual
Yeah.
software. So I'm going to talk about the relationships, the ethic as well. So it's nice.
That's perfect.
It was very insightful discussion. Just add.
Thank you so much.
So, yeah, good morning, good afternoon, actually. Like Isadora just said, the latest addition to the team is ELU, or Amsterdam Tech now. I wanted to talk about something I've realized last 2 years working as an actual software engineer at Teacher as well. I feel like most people, like mostly junior, but not only junior software engineer, they took this way because of their love of coding, which is a wonderful thing. Don't get me wrong, but I feel it has its limitations. Today, the biggest of it would be like the collaboration and communication, because like Alpa said, I agree with him when he say that the thing the developer should be the best at is the relationships, and especially on the team level, like I said. But I feel like the biggest issue we have as software engineers is the soft skills, because most of us are actually awesome on the technical side, like absolute geniuses, and for those people, it's often quite hard to talk about what they do and to communicate and collaborate with the team. And today, the actual team is more valuable than the genius individuals, because companies figured out that it's that way, as a team, working as an efficient team, you go faster and farther as well. So today, I feel like most people, most software engineers, some of them are actually geniuses on the technical level once again, but they struggle to find their place in today's teams, because it's again they struggle to communicate. And to have an efficient team, you have to be able to collaborate and communicate once again. And what happens in some cases that those guys that are really geniuses on technical level, they don't get the other side of the actual job, because software engineering is coding, but also everything else. Like beyond that, there is so much. And if you struggle to understand what's behind the actual coding, it's hard to speak the same language. the people that involved in the project but are not technical at all. And I find it a bit ironic because for years we had like a running gag, running joke in as developers that most managers, product owner, etc., they would be hired as head of technical product without knowing anything about tech, and it makes it quite hard to work as a developer for someone who doesn't understand tech at all. And the way it's actually quite ironic is that it's the other way around. It works as well. You can have people on the product team that would like to talk with the developers, and they're like technical guys that don't know about what the other guys are looking for. And that's the missing piece of a working team. You have to have at least an idea of what the other are doing to be able to speak the same language as them. You don't have to be an actual senior analyst to speak with analysts, but you must know what they are looking for, speak their language, and that's it. And that's why today I wanted to give you a brief overview of what happens in the project and what happens beyond the actual coding. I'm going to talk about the project on a company level. I'm going to talk about personal project as well, because that's a big thing if you want to keep learning as a developer. So the first step of the actual project, you have to find its meaning. There are two reasons on that. The first one, it gives you a sense of purpose. And if you are actually building something, because we are builders, our software engineers build things, and if you are building something but you don't know why, it's hard to keep going. It's the sense of purpose. You have to know that what you do actually bringing good in today's world. And I'll talk about that later, but you have to go forward. And as a developer, once again, you have to keep learning. And if you feel good about learning, you do it again. And I feel that the sense of purpose, like developing the sense of purpose, talk about the meaning, think about what you bring to the world as a developer, is the best way to actually keep learning and keep practicing. And the other reason of that, the way to do that, would be like to rely on design thinking. So that's a bit of analyst world or product owner as well, depends. It's quite simple. You have to find the problem you want to solve and tackle the root cause of it. Because if you just solve the problem you noticed, it was like put plaster on the superficial level. And no, you don't want that. You want to go to dive deeper and tackle it at the root. So you have a lot of tools to help you do that. 5 whys, brainstorming, the Bartikun. And I feel like even on the personal projects, if you do that, you will get better and better at it. And it will allow you to have a better understanding of what the analysts are actually doing. So when you talk with them, you have the same language. And the way they do that, the reason they do that on companies is about the value. Because analysts and stakeholders, they don't actually care about what the technical side of things. They care about the value. So if you want to talk with them, you have to talk about the value. Because that's like the central piece of the company strategy. They want to bring value to bring more money, and that's it. So I have an example. Like 2 weeks ago, a workshops I did at ELU, and the idea was to start brainstorming on the design of a dairy food application. And so we are brainstorming together to find ideas, way to solve it, and think about the general system design of the app. And straight away, then went with, oh yeah, they have to create an account. And the question was, why? What is the value that I can bring to the actual application? They, oh yeah, because you have to have an account to access the features and which features. That's the common mistake on, once again, on junior developers. They go straight to the point. And an application must have an account. Why? I don't know. And so you keep learning over with time, and you have to practice those skills if you want to excel at what you do as a software engineer. But now you have that, you have the root cause, you have a vague idea how to tackle it. What you absolutely don't want to do is start coding right away. Because once again, we are builders, and builders need to rely on architects. And the best way to lose time is to actually start building right away. Because at some point, eventually we get stuck and we lose a lot of time. So what you want to do, I'm sure you have that over and over again, but it's always nice to remind ourselves to not do that. Before coding, you want to take some time. It can depend on the project and the people you are. 1 hour, 2 hours, a day or two. I don't know. It depends actually on a lot of factors. But you want to invest that time to avoid losing time later on. And that's also something, it's closer than the rest of the presentation about the actual coding. It's closer to the coding. But it's still not actual coding, and you have to do that because it's really important, once again, to avoid losing time afterwards. And something, if you can do something, don't do it, and find an alternative, and don't realize that you can do it mid-work, actually. So now everything seems good. You have your idea, you have how you are going to build that idea. Just have to build it. So that's usually the fun part, but not only. But it's not over yet. There's still one step about the impact and results. Because earlier I talked about the sense of purpose and the fact that when you know you are bringing good thing to the world, you're feeling good and you want to do it again. And the best way to enforce that feeling is to realize that, yeah, you did bring good things. People are actually happy of what you built. You are happy of what you built. And you feel good, want to do it again. And I feel that's the best way to keep improving, because that's something really important as a software engineer. Because once again, if you stop improving, you stop learning, you fade off, because that world goes fast. And so to keep improving, like on the technical side, the human side, on the relationship side as well, you have to know what needs to be improved. Is there something you didn't do? Is there something you did the bad way? Is there something you didn't think about at all? And the best way to have those information is to get feedback. And get feedback, get insights about what you did, what you built. And what you have to do is to take the feedback and reflect on it. And that's maybe the hardest way, because feedback is important. And so it's easy to give feedback. It's easy to ask for feedback, but it's quite hard to actually hear feedback and work on it. And that's something that's a skill by itself, actually. And I think you have to work on if you want to improve, because you improve through feedback, but only through feedback. You improve through working on the feedback you have. And for example, if you have like negative feedback from your coworkers, from your users about something you're proud of, like you just built a word project, you're proud of you. People start saying, "Oh yeah, you should have done that differently. Oh, I'm missing that piece." What you have to do is to humble down, hear that feedback, and improve what you did. because it's easy to feel frustrated about negative feedback, but it's the most important feedback, actually. And wait, the last advice I'll give you, I gave it already, but I'll give you again. It's really the most important feedback, advice. You have to get better and better and keep learning. And whenever you stop learning as a software engineer, you lose. And that's it. Thank you.
Hello. Thank you so much for your presentation. Are there any questions? I can't see the questions from here, but maybe there are some questions in the other platform. I'm not sure. Maybe we can wait a few minutes.
Yeah, all right.
Okay, so I guess there are no questions for now. If anyone has any questions at the end as well, you can also send us any questions, or Hugo if you want. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
If you want, you can reach out to me on LinkedIn as well. Or maybe I will be happy to answer any question you have.
Perfect.
Thanks for having me again.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you. Bye. Okay, so thank you. I'm sure everyone did benefit a lot from this talk. It is my pleasure now to introduce our next speaker. His name is David Jimenez. He's the founder of Formation, which is a French company dedicated to developing digital environments. So today we're going to have the privilege of delving into the depth of agile software development with David as our guide. His experience and insights will shed light on the intricate balance between the challenges and the benefits in this field. So, hello, David. How are you?
Fine, and you?
Good, thank you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me.
Of course.
So
you can start whenever you're ready.
So, hello everyone. I would like to share a bit of my experience regarding the software development in the agile methods. So let's go. The darks and lights of the agile software development. So you will probably hear about the agile methodologies or agile framework, better called. And I'm going to talk about Scrum. Well, this is me. Thanks for the introduction, Isadora. But you can find me as well as in LinkedIn with this name. So what's a Scrum? Scrum is a framework to make people work together with a target, deliver value to the customer at the end of each sprint. So as Hugo said before, working in a team is not only to know and to master your technical skills. There are also a lot of important things. So you probably know what's Scrum. You have some events, used to call ceremonies. And the idea, as we said before, is to work as a team and to deliver increased value after the end of each sprint. What can we find in Scrum? So we have a lot of things in Scrum: the theory, the values, the team, the events, and the artifacts. Today we are going to focus in the team part and the events part. You will probably work in Scrum, maybe during your studies or in your real life jobs. And there are a few differences between doing the right Scrum and doing the bad Scrum. So that's the reason I call it the lights and darks. It's like the Jedis. They both use the Force. They were trained to fight, but it's not the same result. So let's start for the team. Let's see what's a dark product owner. Product owner has better things to do than to attend to the events or clarify doubts. You will probably see that in real life, you will have to do some US and there's no information inside. You have this kind of product owner that's always demanding more velocity, more quality, and lower cost. Difficult to have everything at the same time. And there are two types of bad product owners. Product owner that has a visibility of a huge amount of months and everything is planned in advance, or there's not visibility for the next iteration. It happened to me once that I was coaching in a company and they planned like 30 sprints in advance. And when I arrived, I said, and may I ask, why did you choose Scrum? And they said, because Scrum is better. I say, yeah, but you define all the work for 30 sprints. It's kind of a lot. Say, but Scrum is better. You can have this answer. You can think this is the good one, but usually Scrum is to move at the pace of changes are coming. Also, you can find some product owners that they have a backlog, and the backlog is 10 times bigger than the team capacity. One case, I was in a company, and they had to do like 400 points, and they have like 4 or 5 sprints to finish, and they were doing 30 points per sprint. So what was the best idea for this product owner? Okay, the best idea for him was to, let's spend 2 days. We are going to resize all the items we have in the backlog, and we're going to make this happen. So they divided by 10 all the size of the US. So all the stories were size 10 times less. And at the end of the sprint, surprise, the velocity of the team was decreased by 10. So a good product owner, they have to be constructive during all the Scrum events. They help and firewall the team. And their backlog has a clear visibility for at least the next 2 iterations. One of the best product owners I had, he didn't understand everything about the technical part, but when we had a problem, he used to say, okay, I don't understand too much, but what can I do for you? How can I help you? And that's the role of a product owner, defining the work and trying to help, but probably not trying to change the velocity of the team if it's already stable. Then, what we have also in a Scrum team, the famous Scrum Master. And what's the darks of a Scrum Master that doesn't apply the Scrum framework correctly? They have a tendency to work as if they were a project manager. They always focus on the technical side and want all the user studies done. So they're actually behaving like a manager. And they don't interact with other Scrum Masters in their organization. So the Scrum philosophy, it's not stable, it's not homogeneous in the organization. Every time you change team, you are going to work in a different way and following different patterns. Sometimes it happens that you are in a daily meeting during the daily Scrum, and your Scrum Master is saying, you do this, you take this task, you're going to do that, and you're going to do that. And like this is faster. Yeah. But then people are not engaged. And when people are not engaged, work is not done, or it's not properly done. Imagine that once I was in a team, and people were they had trouble, so they wanted to have some coaching about the agility. And when we finished the daily stand-up, I asked, can you say, let's say, thumb ups who think they are going to finish all the work of the sprint, and people who think that we are not going to finish all the work for the sprint, they have to do the thumbs down. So only one people was with the thumb up. And I asked the question, and they said, actually, the sprint planning was made by this guy. So it was the technical lead, and he decided that all this story had to go in the sprint. So people were not engaged. What should a good Scrum Master do? Take the time to improve their knowledge about Scrum and to spread it. It's good to work in a framework, but if people don't know the framework, it's not very useful. They propose a new different solution when the previous one did not work. That's very important. A good Scrum Master has to try a new thing when something is not working. And if it's not working, again, then you have to try a new thing. And then if it's definitely not working, that case, then you have to try again something else. A good Scrum Master understands that the Scrum is a framework and doesn't say how to get things done. You have the framework, but you don't know how to do things. It's the team who decides how to do things. And then the developer. Developer means everyone who is developing the product. Can be a software developer, can be a tester, can be someone working in the DevOps team, etc. This one is pretty good because I've been for too many years a bad Scrum developer, so I can tell you how it works. They only need to know the task assigned to themselves. So for me, it was very easy. When we started with Scrum, we had a tool. We saw all the tickets that were assigned to us. So mine is done, and we don't care too much about the others. So work is not going to get done if we ignore other people work. Also, there are some developers that they cannot present during the Scrum reviews. So they did a job, and then they are not able to explain everyone else what they did. And during the events, they do not pay attention or they do not participate. And that's really good right now with working on remote. Then you have a meeting and you are not very interesting. This is not interesting for you because this is how the team can get better, but you are a bad developer. So you don't participate, and because you are working on remote, you can watch TV or do something else at the same time. What should be a good developer? Keep in mind what is going to be valuable for the client. That demands a minimum of empathy. So is this useful for my client or not? They help their teammates and coordinate with them to finish features. You can easily reuse their work. You're going to find a lot of people that work, and when they finish their task, they say, this is done. They move it to the done column, and then you don't find a way to use their work. There's nothing inside this card. A good developer must remember the definition of done and the retrospective actions that were taken in the last retrospective event. And that's very important. Once I was supervising a team in the same organization, and then I had to. They asked me to come and to see how they were working because they were having some trouble. And I was talking to one of the developers, and I asked at the end of the daily, someone can show me this user story that it's already finished? And this developer said, yeah, I can show it to you. So it was a web application. So we took a look, and then I look at him and I ask, what do you think about this website? And he answered, okay, it meets all the requirements. I said, good, that's good. But the question was more, what do you think about this web app? And he said, all the tests are passed. I said, yeah, maybe that's not the sense of my question. What would you think if you find a website like this? Imagine that you are using this website. What would you think? And finally, this guy looked at me and he said, quietly, he said, oh, this shit. And I thought, oh, that's a really good answer. So I didn't know what to say. So I asked him, do you like to do shit? And he said, fortunately, he said no. And then we could work a bit on that and change things. So leaving past the Scrum teams, then we have the events. For example, the sprint planning. When are we doing a bad sprint planning? The failure is assured when the velocity is set in advance and there's no need to leave a margin for incidents. Sometimes we have a product, it's already working, we are still developing, and we don't take into account that at some point we are going to have some bugs to repair and probably to change things in our production server. The user stories are not divided in tasks. Usually the bad Scrum Master goes with the bad product owner. So the stories has no information. And of course, people don't know exactly what to do. So they don't make tasks. There are no cars. It's going to happen when we arrive there. And the value of each user story is estimated as if the most expert teammate would do it. Sometimes happens that the people say, no, this is very easy. This is very easy. And then can be very easy for one of the team members, but maybe not for everyone. And this person is not going to do everything. So when we are sizing, we need to know the capabilities of the team. Very important. So what we should do in a sprint planning? The sprint goal is clear and the commitment is collective. As we said before, there cannot be only one person committed to all the tasks we have to do during the sprint. If it's like that, it's going to fail. Each US defines what is going to be done and how it's going to be done. We have to plan in advance what we want to do and how we want to do. Because if we do it, we will see what can be done and what cannot be done. And when we complete all the tasks, we should meet the definition of done of the user story. Another event. Every day we meet up for the daily Scrum. when you're on the dark side, you tell everyone what you did there yesterday. The more detail, the better. You tell them that you went to the server, that you code that, this. You even tell them what you have for lunch. Very interesting, but we actually don't care. You have a task. Did you finish it? Are you blocked? Do you need some help? But don't tell a lot of things. We usually have a chat, we usually have a way to communicate. We don't have to share that during the daily scrum. We only need to know if your work it's advancing and if you need to coordinate with other people. This is a meeting, you will see all the people, and then you have to coordinate to get the work done, not to tell what you did yesterday, literally. Sometimes if a user story is blocked, that can happen to you. No one is helping. It happened to me in a team that the main US was blocked. We finished the daily scrum and no one said anything. And I said, did you realize that your main US is blocked and no one is trying to help the person who's working on this? And they say, yeah, it's complicated. You know, we are blocked because we have no access. We are depending on our team. And the other team was working just downstairs in the same building, very far from them. So at the end, what did I said? Why don't you go and you ask for the help you need? They say, because they're going to say no, and so we don't want to bother them. So finally, they went downstairs. They needed access to a production server. And when they came back, they said, oh, they say yes. They say yes. We only have a couple of hours, but they granted us access to the server machine. So if you don't ask, you don't have a yes. You always have a no. And in a daily scrum, someone is distributing the tasks. If someone is distributing, this is a project manager. And as you saw before, there's not a project manager in the Scrum framework. So what should we do in the daily Scrum? Keep in mind the commitment of the team. So we decided we are going to do that. Usually in the sprint planning is the team who's going to engage. It's not the product owner who's going to say, you need to do 50 points. No, the team has a velocity, so the team is going to engage or commit to the points that they usually can do. After sprint, you have another one. So you don't have time to rest. The idea of Scrum is that we are always advancing, always going forward. We don't stop, but we don't take a charge of work that we cannot deal with. During the daily Scrum, we have to define what can be finished today, to coordinate. Coordinate the team, developers, tester, product owner, clarify doubts. Maybe you have external collaborators, people that are going to set up your infrastructure, going to give you virtual machines. But the important thing is, how can we work together to finish what we are doing? The review is one of the most important events in Scrum, especially at the beginning and when things are not working very well. So the review is to show our clients, users, or stakeholders what we are doing to meet their requirements. And for a long time, I've been in a lot of reviews without clients, users, or stakeholders. So what we do in this case, when you are in the dark side of the Scrum, you do a presentation and a demo to your product owner, because the product owner is not part of the team. Of course, this is sarcasm. Don't take it for granted. So in the review, the work done during the sprint is not in context with the roadmap. Usually we do some work because a client wants to have some functionalities. They want maybe their software development, it's going to do something. And a sprint is only an increment of value. So the increment of value must be seen in the roadmap, like in the general vision. It's like if you have a ship and you are on the sea. You're in the sea and you need to take a direction. Every sprint, it's like the wind you take to go to this direction. But you keep in mind that each sprint is part of a direction to take. And also in the review can happen that people are not proud enough to present a demo and they don't get any feedback. The review, it's only for that. It's to show what we are doing and if it matches what it was expected. And usually we are not prepared as humans to get too much negative feedback. And it can be a bit harsh because clients sometimes arrive and they say, this is not what we want, but this is actually what they ask for. But that's not a problem. This is not what you want. This is what you ask for. Let's put aside what you ask for. What do you want? Well, if we want to do things a bit better, the whole team presents the product developed during the sprint. We understand the increment of value that is delivered to the roadmap. And we take the feedback and try to understand the client needs. And to end the retrospective. The retrospective, as I said, is one of the key points to make the team better. In a retrospective, we have to take some actions if needed. And these actions should be there to avoid all the problems we had before. So what should not do in a retrospective? Never talk again about decisions that we made in other retrospectives. So it's like saying something is not working, we take an action, and it's going to last only one sprint. The question here is why we took the action. Why we took the decision, we found a problem, we took the decision to do something different for the following sprint. Did we do it? Did it work? If it worked, can we stop it doing it? Should we continue doing that? Also, what happens is that we misunderstand the solution with the action to take. I don't know if you have a lot of experience, but you are going to hear this one. Our action is going to be, we are going to be on time for our daily meeting. There are too many people that arrive late. And that's not an action. And usually it doesn't work. And one of the best that happens to me once is define an action out of the scope of the team or that we cannot measure. Sometimes we say we are going to increase the quality of this, but we don't say how to measure that. Or in one case, in my experience, we made a retrospective and the decision we took against my will, but was to avoid other people from the DevOps team to come to our meetings or to talk to us in our chat. So yeah, you probably see that's not a good action. An action is something that concerns the team, must be changeable, must be measurable, but it only concerns the own team. We use a retrospective to know how can we advance, how can we improve our work to get to the goals that we set. So what's the idea of a retrospective? The time spent is proportional to the number of problems to be solved. We have a lot of problems. We spend 50 minutes and people are not paying attention and not participating. Sometimes we don't have problems. The team works very good. Makes sense that the retrospective is a bit shorter. We measure the results of all the taken decisions. So last spring, we decided to do that. Is it working? Is not working? How can we measure it? If it's working, do you need to continue doing? And like this with all the items that we put in our retrospectives. And sometimes when I go to a team, I ask, what decisions did you take for the retrospective? And people look at each other, and then they look at the Scrum Master, like he's the Scrum Master or she's the Scrum Master. The question must be there. And no, it's the team who makes this commit to say we're going to take an action, and it's going to change a problem. So the team is committed to the actions to take. And maybe you have some questions, or you want to share some of your experiences. I'm still here. Oh, yeah. So if you don't have any more questions.
My mic is muted. Thank you, David. Thank you for your talk. I'm just checking to see if there are any questions here on Hopin. I don't think there are any questions for now. Thank you so much for coming and talking to us. I didn't know a lot about Agile software, so it was nice. There are people thanking you for this session, but no questions for now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. So for our next speaker, okay. So for our next speaker, we will have two people that have already talked to us now, which is Alper and Hugo. They're gonna have a little Q&A and a little discussion on tech. So welcome, guys. Yes.
Hello again.
Thank you, guys. Hello, how are you?
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so yeah, so I think it would be great to have this conversation. Hugo, I loved your session where you kind of really built up on some of the things I've shared. So, and I was curious. I mean, one of the things I wanted to ask you is like, why do you think these new skills are really important?
Well, thank you, both. I feel that I feel that those skills are important in the sense that it's the way the world works today, and it's what you said. Developers are not only coding machines. You have to be able to work with people, you have to talk with clients to understand their needs, and it's much more than just coding. And yeah, even if we are coding because we love that, I feel like we can do much more than that.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think that's most of developers are actually curious, because you can be a developer if you're not curious about what you're doing and what's happening in the tech world right now. And I feel that's a bit sad that a lot of people are curious about the technical side of things, while they're working with something much big than that. And I feel that there's a lot to learn, a lot to discover from other fields and other people, because I didn't mention before, but the bigger thing, we are lucky. I feel lucky in my job because I can work with from wherever I want. I can meet with one new people, new cultures, and in terms of like to grow on the human side. It's awesome to be able to do that in our day-to-day job.
Yeah, I think so. What I'm hearing from you is like when you have these skills, I think you have kind of more freedom, as I shared. Kind of I hear like you can work remotely. You know, you can work in exciting companies. You can choose kind of the projects. So it gives you a bandwidth in a way. But that's what I understand, right? And
Yeah, that's it. That's why I do this job. That's why I'm freelance as well, because yeah, I can pick the projects I work on. I can pick the people I work with, and I can do that with traveling the world, and that's the best life I could imagine. So yeah, for me, uh, freedom is the most important thing in my life, and
amazing.
I have like a job that allow me to live and to do basically whatever I want. So we definitely are lucky as software engineers to be able to do that.
Okay. And for example, tell us where you live and where your clients are, for example, because you talked
Yeah,
that you can choose where you live, where you work with your clients, with projects. I'm curious.
yeah. Right now it's like a challenging phase because I've been living in Ireland. I was in Dublin for the last 9 months, and I went back to my hometown, so in Toulouse, in southern France. And my client is also from Toulouse, so it's not a good example at the moment. But I used to work with a Russian company um, when I was living in Dublin, and I was like that in terms of culture and the way to live. It's like nothing. It's way different than what we do in Europe, actually. And it was more important in that sense that I used to work as some kind of soft soft skills IT mentor, and so I was coaching them on the way to handle an interview, um, the meetings. Like something that struck me at that time was I was talking about the stand-up meetings that David just mentioned,
Exactly.
and what they did in Russia, that didn't do any small talk. So while they were waiting for the people to join the meeting, they're just staring at each other and like, how do you bond with people? And told me, we
Yes.
don't do that. And I feel that's something really important to do. and
Yes.
to bond with the people you're working with as well on a
Yes.
personal level. And so yeah, that's a good example of something you learn, something you discover, because the world is much bigger than we think. And I feel like we are lucky once again to be able to experience that.
Yes, that's amazing. And so I'm curious, for example, all these skills that you mentioned are kind of, um, how was your experience of building and growing these skills? What did you do?
Yeah, I think it took time, took a lot of time, because at first I was a backend developer, like the most common, like a bit shy, not too much, but a bit still. And um, I graduated from Epitech, which is one of the first project-based school, and
Yes.
they push you really to collaborate, work together. They challenge you, and you have to work with your teammates to overcome the challenges. So you take that habit, and they push the collaboration in the sense that when someone is stuck, they told him to go check with Tom over there, and it's good on that. You managed to do that. You could check him what to do, and so that's why led me into teaching as well, because I was often helping people, getting helped as well, and so that allow you to communicate and collaborate better. And then I joined the startup world. I worked from a lot of startups in Toulouse still, and that's a world that really pushes you to meet with people, because I thought I actually started as a backend developer, and I had to do basically everything on the tech level, and that was like my first jump, into that world, because I had to speak with people, gather requirements, deploy the actual thing, work in design on the front end as well. I never did that before, and I like that, because I'm a curious guy, and I discovered a lot of things, and I like the fact that we do everything basically by myself. But not only by myself, still I had to collaborate with the other people. It was a small team, but really it opened my mind about what is happening um, beyond the actual coding, and that's why I wanted to talk about that, because I felt it was a wonderful experience, and I grew a lot from that. And from then I kept growing those skills from startup to startup, with traveling and meeting new people. And at first, you have to force yourself to go towards people, to speak, because it's hard to take that habit. But once you get the actual habit to do that, it feels comfortable and it feels nice. And when you stop and you stand back for a minute and you look for why you came, it's like 2 years ago I wasn't the same people at all, and I grew a lot, and that's wonderful. I'm really happy with where I'm right now because of that experiences.
Amazing. And then I'm curious, like, tell if you have any stories or memories, or you from your professional practice, where practicing or living these skills made an impact on you, made a difference, made your life different. I mean, maybe it's hard to quickly, but remember. But maybe, is there any story that you could share with us?
Yeah, I have a lot of them, a lot of first times, basically.
Okay.
Like the first time I actually went teaching, because a friend of mine was actually teaching already, and so and told me, yeah, I need backup on this one. So I said, yeah, why not? And after to prepare my lesson, the workshops, I wanted to make them do, and then I got there. I was like by myself, and I remember 30 people, and I'm
Okay.
like, what am I doing now? What's the deal? And I thought I can prepare, but I was actually lost, and it wasn't that bad. That first session was good. I came back, so it was good. Uh, But yeah, it's always the first time, the first step you take towards an objective or a new life. It's always hard to get that. So the habit I took to handle that is that I got there and then I improvised, because if I try to reflect, oh, what I'm going to do, never works, because it never goes the way you think it does. So you have to get there, actually do the things, improvise, and that's the best way to actually learn and get comfortable.
Yes.
When done.
Yes, I think your first time story is amazing, because it teaches me and probably everyone a lot of things. Because to be able to like show up like that in the first time, something requires, I think, courage.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, where do you get that courage, for example? What gives you that courage from the experience?
I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like the more you get out of your comfort zone, the easier it becomes. And it's always hard. There is no point, so far for me, there's any point like, okay, that's easy. No, you always have to force yourself and get, okay, I can do that. I'm going there, and then I will see what happens. So I think there's any particular courage or anything. It's hard to do it, but as long as you just have to do it, and I don't have any trick to overcome that except to force yourself and get there and do the thing.
Yes, that's amazing, because I think what I heard from you triggered two things in my mind. One is like, I had one mentor about this kind of experiences. He had told me that you just need just enough structure, just enough preparation, to go and show up.
Yeah.
And after that, you just need a little bit courage to allow the flow, emergence, to do the work for you. I think I was like, that was so scary for me. Like, how can I trust the flow that I don't know what's going to happen? But actually, he would say, trust the process. And I kept trusting the process. And it's always, just enough structure or preparation, then be open to the flow. It's always that I've done magical experiences. And I think where I get my courage from in the similar instances is like, when you take these risks, they seem awfully big risks, actually. You go in front of 30 people and you can really lose face, whatever. Sometimes it's a live broadcast with more people, whatever. But I think when I get this courage, when you take these risks, actually there's a huge promise. 99% of the time, you get an amazing magical experience.
Yeah.
And you feel alive, actually.
Yeah.
So my conclusion is like, living a life that I never felt alive without taking risk. I rather would live a life where I would feel alive because of these risks. And this is the only reason, then the main reason that I can take these risks personally, because I come also from a very shy, maybe I don't look like it, but I come from a very shy introvert history. So that's how I got out of my, cocoon in a way, with that promise to myself, which has always been true. So I think that's what your story inspired in me.
I'm glad to hear that. But
Wonderful.
yeah, that's what I was mentioning in my talk before. Like, if you feel good doing something, you will do it again. And when
Yes.
you do the big step, and even if you're afraid at first, then you feel alive and you feel good and you want to feel that again. So you find something else to have that thrill, actually. So yeah, the first time is always hard, then it gets easier and easier with time.
Yes, and I'm curious also for those who is in different stages in their career path in technology, software engineering, based on the conversations we've had, what would be some tangible things that you could recommend them to progress, to go further, to be better?
Yeah, I can talk for the people more tenured than I do because I'm not there yet. But I feel that it's hard to do it. But I feel that most people, like junior developers or students, struggle to do is to realize that if I have something to say and their opinion is valued as much as the rest of the team. And you often tend to think, yeah, I'm still not junior, I'm not experienced enough to give my opinion about a technical thing. You have to do it. You always have to do it. It's hard. Once again, the first time is always hard. And the first times, the first 10, 15, 20 times hard to the thing until you haven't realized that, yeah, I can't do it as much as the other. Like my voice has the same value. It's hard to do it, but it would be like a really good advice. And yeah, that and ask questions as well. When you're a junior developer, junior whatever, actually, and you are working with more senior people, you don't be afraid to ask them if you have a question. Because especially in the software engineer field, people love what they do. So they like to talk about what they do. So if you ask them questions about what they do, they will talk about what they do they will talk like 20, a lot of time. An example of that was a few years ago already. Worked for a big consulting company.
Yes.
And a guy from my team actually worked in National Center of Space Study before, and he used to do night shifts when they would receive data from the Mars rover. And you could feel that the guy was actually fascinated by that. He could he was so lively and spoke about that. And so I started to ask him questions about what happens, what they found, and he couldn't stop talking because he really loved that job that he had some time ago. And I feel like the same goes for the software engineers. Software engineers are passionate people about what they do. Once again, as much as you can be software engineer without being curious, you can be a software engineer with being passionate about what you do.
Yes, I think listening to you, I remembered a conversation with an unusual person for technology professionals, but a very meaningful experience. Some years ago, I had met with a gentleman whose name is Benjamin Zander. He was the conductor of Boston Philharmonic, and charming, amazing person, one of the best also conductors. And I got something from that conversation which always stayed with me, and I still use it. I had asked him about, how difficult it's conducting an orchestra, and there are so many unknowns and problems and everything. He told me that, how do you cope with this? I said, how do you get the courage and everything? The same question I asked you almost. His answer was like very profound, very simple and profound. He told me that I don't get myself seriously, ever, never. I only get my experience seriously, and that takes me everywhere. So I think that's something I learned, like in all these experiences. Never get yourself too seriously, and then just pay attention to your experience and get it serious and make sure it's a good one, and the rest will follow. That's kind of what I kind of also read from that. So I think that was a great conversation, Hugo. It was great.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you for joining. I think we will continue with our next speaker, and maybe Isadora, it's time for you to pick up the stage. So let's see if Isadora is coming online, and then we'll go to our next speaker. Okay. Hi,
Hi
Isidora.
guys, hi. Sorry, I don't have the control of coming online.
Yes,
So
the backstage
I'm just
manager has all the control. I know.
I'm just waiting to come online.
All
But
right.
thank you so much, guys, for this talk. It was nice to have you guys again. And I'll present the next speaker.
Yes.
And thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye. So it was great hearing from everyone again. And for our next speaker, we have Alvaro Cavallero. He is um, going to talk to us about understanding the essential qualities and proficiency sought after the software engineering domain. So, hi, Alvaro. He is the head of people at Fabrica, so he can talk a little bit more about that. I think he knows more than I do. So, hello and welcome.
Hi there, Isadora. Can you hear me? Does this work well for everyone?
Yes, yes, we can.
All
Everything.
right, cool. Yeah, lovely to be here. This is actually my third time here, and it's always really nice to have an opportunity to share a little bit of my experiences, some of my ideas. So allow me to first share my screen, present. I'm just going to share my screen. Let's see if this actually works. Yeah, you should be able to see my screen right now. Allow me to start with an introduction then. As Isadora mentioned, my name is Alvaro Caballero. I'm originally from Mexico. I've been living in the Netherlands for about 13 years now. I am currently the head of people at Creative Fabrica, which means all things HR, all things employee experience at Creative Fabrica. Creative Fabrica is a fantastic organization. It's an Amsterdam-based tech scale-up that is focusing on enabling creators and creatives and crafters by offering an all-in subscription so they can download and make use of all the assets that we have there. And we are embedding a lot of artificial intelligence to create tools to support creatives. Before Creative Fabrica, I was head of people at Data Snipper, B2B SaaS software, SaaS company also based in Amsterdam. And before that, perhaps more relevant to what we're going to discuss today, I was the head of the Tech Academy at ING. So we were looking at globally supporting the learning and development and performance of engineers for ING. Today, what I would love to talk about, as I mentioned, is the third time that I'm doing this, and every time I'm trying to be something slightly different but connected. So what I would like to do today is give you some tips for you as aspiring software engineers. I prepared for you a few things. The first one, this is something that I did share last year, and I thought this is too important not to share again, writing skills. As aspiring software engineers, as computer science degree students, we do tend to focus, as should be, a premium on our technical skills. And those are the things that are going to get us to be good software engineers. However, to be excellent software engineers, we need writing skills. There are many situations in which you will be needing writing skills. And then so today, to show you a little bit of why, for instance, there's a lot that is being written about the culture at Amazon in which they don't have a PowerPoint presentation. So if you're a software engineer or you're leading a team at Amazon and you want to make some changes on how the organizations work on projects or deliverables, you will have to learn 6 pages memos. And then so you better be good at writing if you want to be successful in these kind of companies, right? Why that writing culture at Amazon? Well, there is this fantastic book, Working Backwards, for 2 ex-Amazon employees. And they explain things like, instead of the traditional PowerPoint documents, if you use written documentation for decision-making, you can pack more information. There's a higher information density, which allows to make the decision easier. Another advantage of using written documentation is that usually when you have a presentation, it's all about the charisma of the presenter. However, when you're looking at a document, it's about the ideas that win, not the charisma of the good presentation. You can forget about being timid and presenting in front of a lot of people. If you have a good document, you get ahead with your ideas. And then the third one is that usually when you have PowerPoints, you have to cram a lot of data. It is a very specific format. It is not made for non-linear complex issues. So again, writing better allows you to pass along and have conversations about complex and non-linear issues. Just so you know, a lot of what I'm going to do today is give you advice so you can go and find other places. This is a lot of people that are smarter than me, so I'm just giving you recommendations for you to look at what they have to say. So another recommendation when it comes to writing is Hercule Orost. He is based here in Amsterdam, ex-Uber, ex-Microsoft, fantastic guy, always writes a lot about how to be a better software engineer. He also talks about how do you become a better writer as software engineer. Again, there are many instances that you're going to have to be writing stuff like explaining the situations of your projects, but also having performance conversations. In today's world of remote work, there's a lot of asynchronous written conversation needed as well. The clearer and effective, the more effective you are with your writing, the better you become at your work. And then so don't take it up from me, take it up from these guys who are really smart, and they say this as well. I want to leave you also with a couple of tools here. You know, like you have the Hemingway editor that actually helps you with better writing. Grammarly Pro or Grammarly Free, also very good to improve your readability. And then there's a bunch of free online resources if you really want to be serious about it. Julian Shapiro has an excellent handbook for writing well. Google has a collection of courses how to do technical writing documentation. And then there's even a couple of free resources in terms of videos on how to craft writing effectively. So bookmark these things. I'll be happy to also share those on the presentation later. If you want to be serious about your craft of software engineering, start learning how to write well. Number 2, practice decision making. Also something that I see very often that engineers need to improve a lot when they start working after they graduate. I also mentioned this last year, decision making is a fantastic skill for everyone to be successful at work. Basically, we should know that we're highly susceptible to cognitive biases. We also need to understand that as humans, we put a lot of weight on our short-term emotion. And also, we tend to be overly confident about the future. And later on, we just look back and say, yeah, we were right. And we forget we were not always right. So there are many, many, many resources about decision-making out there, about mental models. Today, just to give you an example, there is this TOMASP acronym to show you a process when you have to make a decision, what you should be thinking about. So the first thing is you should time box the decision. Before you start the process, you say, this is as much time as I want to take to make this decision. And is this type of decision easy or hard to reverse? If it's easy to reverse, make the decision as soon as possible. Is it hard to reverse? Put yourself a limit. It avoids analysis paralysis. So it forces you to make a decision at a very specific point in time. The other is that you need to avoid or situations. It's usually I should do A or B. Should I take this job or that job? You should be looking at generation more options, should be looking at and situations. Can I take A and B? Can I do A, B, and or C? So there's a lot more options that you need to think about. Usually decisions are not boiling down to 2 options. You should look for more. Then the third one is meta decision skill is decide on how do you want to make this decision. Is this decision something that you want to consult people you trust? Is this decision something that you want to make on your own? Is this something that you want to prepare and do research, or you're going to go with your instinct? Be very explicit about what is the process that you want to take to make that decision. Now, this must sound common sense, but a lot of times we change our decision making on the fly without thinking about it, and that leads to less than optimal decision making process. Analyze your options, make a table, the classic pros and cons. It does help. It does unlock new opportunities. So do the hard work, sit, pull out that paper and pen, and just start looking and analyzing your options. After you've done that, when you think you're going to make the decision, stop for a little second, review everything that you went through, spot inefficiencies, let the decision rest maybe for a day, and then the next day come in and say, okay, now I'm sure that I'm not missing anything. And then you step back and you make the decision. And then most important of all, do prepare to be wrong, okay? A lot of us make all these decisions and we don't get it right. Learning about your decisions while being very thorough in your decision-making process is a sure way to get better at this. So there you have it. This is one of many formats, very easy, very simple. It shouldn't take you more than a couple hours to prepare for decisions. The more important and complex the decisions are, the better for you to take time to do them. My third tip for you all, learning how to manage up. Now, again, I bring you someone who's way smarter than me and who said things better than I do. In this case, I want to make reference to Wes Cow. She used to be the one who run the Alt MBA by Seth Godin, which, if you don't follow, amazing guy in terms of marketing skills. So Wes actually partnered up with Seth and run this whole alternative MBA. Now she's the co-founder of Maven HQ, which focuses on learning and development, and they have this fantastic platform online. Now, so Wes created a Twitter thread, which is quite interesting, and I just extracted 3 or 4 of the most interesting bits. But what is basically managing up? Managing up is being very mindful about understanding what your managers and the leadership layer of your company care about, or how do they make decisions, and prepare in advance so you can be successful under their guidance. So instead of just taking that, they need to manage me, I am proactive and I start managing up. So a few examples. Show your thought process. As a manager, I can already tell you, it shows a great deal of commitment when you just don't tell me, hey, I recommend this. I want to know why. I want to know, I recommend this because these are my criteria, these are my assumptions, these are potential trade-offs, this is what I checked, these are the things that I didn't check, and based on all that, these are my recommendations. It doesn't have to be very extensive, but if you're bringing something up to me, I would love to hear how you thought about that, because then I can give you better feedback and I can have a faster decision. So show your thought process is a great way to start managing up your relationship with your managers. The second one, do not only bring problems, right? This sounds obvious, but it's something that we see very often. Hey, I have this issue. What I would love to hear is, hey, I have this issue, and here are a few suggestions on how to do. Or if you want to add problems and solutions with showing your thought process, then it becomes even better. This is a problem. I'm not sure how to solve it. I wanted to flag it to you. Here are a few things in my thought process that allows you to come up with a solution. Please help me. Let's brainstorm what to do. This kind of communication is a lot more rich than what we usually see when we're managing people. A third one, keeping people in the loop. Now, this is something that I see happen very often. You ask something to someone, or you've been asked something to someone. You are very busy working on it, but you forget to tell them, hey, I'm working on it. Or I expect to have something in a couple of weeks, and 1 week passes, and then you give a quick update. Hey, remember this thing that you asked me? So it's in 2 weeks, but halfway through, here is the update of what's going on. Keeping people in the loop goes a long way. Again, doesn't have to be extensive. You don't have to write a super report. A quick, short Slack message goes a long way. So the people who are responsible for what you're doing and your deliverables have an idea about what you're working on. So keeping people in the loop, super important. Information hierarchy, also super important. When we want to say something, we immediately go into providing a lot of context. Let me tell you the backstory. Let me tell you this arc of how I ended up in the situation that we are today. You put a lot of details. Those are very important. Backstories, bottlenecks, context, they are part of the story. However, when you're reaching out and managing up, make sure that you put on top the classic too long didn't read kind of message. So this is the situation. This is what I need from you. And after that, then you put below all the context, okay? When you have a very, very clear understanding of what information you should put first, it shows that you understand and you value effectiveness, assertiveness, and the time of the people that is helping you make those decisions. So again, do not dismiss context, just present context second. First, the information that you need them to do or act on. And the last one, which should be the first one, managing up is not something that you only do when you're a junior. And I can tell you this, I have a couple of decades of experience as a worker. I have people that I manage. I've been managed by my CEO. I can tell you it's a skill that helps me every day. 10, 15 years into your career, you will see that the best people are the people who understand how to get information and decisions made done quickly, and managing up is one way to do that. Fourth, mentorship. Now, this is something that, again, it was not written by me. It is written by Molly Graham. She was an early Facebook employee that scaled through the ranks. Then she became the COO of Quip, and now she's an investor and advisor. Excellent person in terms of how do you grow as a person in a technology company. And she has something very simple, very true to say. When we're starting our career, we want to rush through those jobs. We want to take as much as we can in terms of showing responsibility, growing, taking more titles, jumping from one company to the other. Career growth is important. But the other part of this is that when you find a manager that is willing to be that mentor for you, that is willing to give you the space to stretch and to grow and protect you from that, these are the kind of people that you want to take a moment and say, even if I have another opportunity, what I grow under the leadership of that person and that manager who ends up being a mentor, it's worth a lot more than that other title. Because those of us who are lucky to find those mentors in our career realize after a while that these are not very common. As she says, if we're lucky, you'll have one or two of true mentors in our career. So you better make sure that you stay long enough to learn as much as you can, and then you can move. So again, I know that we're just graduating. I know that we just really want to move ahead and eat up the world. That is a great attitude to have, but do not discount that great mentorship is rare and far in between. So if you found one, making sure that you stay close for as long as you can. So she said it, I can confirm, is something that I really, really wish I could stay a little bit longer to those one or two people that I look back and say, these were great mentors. They had the best interest of mine at heart. I could have learned a lot more from them. And the last bit of advice for you is, listen, all the engineering managers who are going to be responsible for your growth, they are also learning, right? And they're also reading a lot of this stuff. They're figuring this out as you go, okay? So my last advice for you is start right now. Start reading what they're reading. So let me give you the top 4 technical leadership and people management books, according to me. And I do that because I'm in multiple communities, and I know that these are constantly being quoted as excellent engineering management and leadership books. So you might as well start reading what they're reading, because then you share that context when you have that conversations with them. This is going to make you definitely a better software engineer. These are my favorite too. Michael Lopp, Managing Humans, very funny book, but fantastic collection of anecdotes about how do you manage engineering teams. The second is Camille Fournier, The Manager's Path. It does show how do you grow as a team lead and as a manager, specifically in technology-oriented organizations. And 2 of the oldies, but definitely goodies, Tom DeMarco and Timothy Lister on Peopleware, and one of the most classic ones, Frederick P. Brooks, The Mythical Man Month. They're both really about software engineering, but they have a lot of those soft skills, people management skills. Again, if you read those, you'll see what is it that your managers or your future managers and leads are trying to learn, trying to do, and then you can be at a better context when you have conversations with them about this. So there you have it. These are my 5 tips for you. To recap, invest heavily on your writing skills. Be very mindful of creating a toolbox of decision-making frameworks and practice them. first on low stakes decisions, so you're ready to apply them on high stake decisions. Learn how to manage up, meaning anticipate the needs and preferences of your managers, your future managers and leads, and learn how to use that to your advantage. Number 4, do not discount how rare true mentorship are. And if you find the 1 or 2 or 3 that you're going to have to your career, consider staying a little bit longer to learn a lot more. And number 5, if you are reading, try and read things that your managers are most likely reading or they read and they take into consideration to grow their engineering skills. There you have it. These are my advice for you. These are my tips for you. And yeah, happy to hear if you have any questions. I'm going to go back to the main screen over here.
Hi, Alvaro. How are you? Thank you so
Hi,
much.
Isidora.
Hi. I don't see any questions for now, but I do have a question. Where can we see the books that you recommended? Can you share them with me after, and I can share with everyone else as well?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I will share the names, and you can get them readily available on Kindle or on Amazon. All of them are super easy to get.
Okay, perfect. There's a question which is sometimes can be good not to take a decision if the risk is too high.
Sometimes it can be good to not make a decision if the risk is too high.
Yeah.
That is correct. So part of when you define your decision-making mental models, you have to understand, for instance, what type of decision are we talking about. And it is clear that in one of those decision models, you have the type 1 and type 2 decisions. I think Jeff Bezos talks about it. Type 1 decisions are reversible decisions, things that you make the decision, and if you get it wrong, you can quickly change them. Type 2 decisions are irreversible decisions that once you make them, it's not so easy to go back, right? So who are you getting married to, moving to a different city? So like these things are hard to change, right? Like high stakes. So indeed, the first thing you need to know is this a type 1 or type 2? If it's a type 1, make it, learn, go fast, avoid analysis paralysis. If it's type 2, take your time. But then another thing, once you identify a type 2, you also need to understand that middle ground in between. How long can I postpone without making the decision? Be very mindful. So I always say, how much time can I have to gather information before I need to make that decision, right? So do not accept necessarily the deadline that people gives you. If you can extend that deadline, you create more space for you so you can gather more information. On the other end of the spectrum is you will never have 100% certainty on complex decisions. So at some point, with incomplete information, you have to make the decision. That is the moment to do it. So by being systematic about it, you understand type of decision, when is the deadline, can I create more space for myself, when is enough information just to make the decision without knowing that I'm never going to have 100%.
Yeah, because I think also not taking a decision is kind of taking a decision at the end. If
Correct.
you don't take a decision, you already kind of took a decision after a while, after a certain amount of time.
Right.
Let me see if there are any other questions. I don't see any questions right now, but thank you so much for coming and talking to us. Everyone can also ask questions, I guess, on LinkedIn. And I will also share the books that he recommended.
Absolutely. All the material and all the recommendations, there are all links to Twitter, to the blogs, to the books. So I'll be happy to share that with you and you pass it along. So, and for everyone that is seeing, if they want to reach out on LinkedIn and ask further questions, happy to connect, find me over there.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Have a good day, everyone.
Bye. Have a good day. So if anyone wants any of the books or any of the things you recommended, you can talk to me. My email will be here. And so our next session and our final session will be a question and answer with one of our software engineering bachelor students at ELU. So he's going to be talking a little bit about his journey, about himself, and why he chose to do software engineering at ELU. So, hi, Adrian, welcome. How are you?
Hello, Isadora and everyone. Thanks for inviting me here to these
Of
summits for
course.
the second time.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good.
Still in Bali as last time.
Oh, nice. So really far away. That's nice to have an online event so I think everyone can attend, even if you're the other side of the world.
Hmm.
So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, as I've said, I've been living in Bali for quite a while. I don't have a lot to say about my past since I'm still very young, but so I can talk about my future and the rest of my lifetime, and um, and later on my some of my decisions probably. Um, so about the future, I think, as I've always said, I'm always excited about the future. I think there is a tremendous amount of opportunity in the future for young generations of our time, particularly. I see that um, typically a lot of incoming opportunities are dragged over time, not simply the result of technical limitations being overcome or reached, but equally as important, I think social adoption seems to be not progressing as fast as its possible rate should be, and that is what allows for opportunities to be dragged out year over year, and that space or gap is how we will enter for people who are entering side of these industry. Yeah, and aside from the opportunity, I think because I still have a lot in front of me. There is a threat that is only particular to me. I don't think any older or experienced person will think about, but that energy is some problem that I keep my eye on, because it seems that fossil fuel there's a potential that fossil fuel will become increasingly scarce in the next 2 decades. And if that is the case, if you are pursuing careers in a more industrial sectors, that's going to produce a bit of a problem. But on the other hand, information technology is going to continue to develop, and the demand for it isn't likely to go down. It's likely go even more in the future, and that's what some of the basis over the long term for why I'm deciding to pursue software engineer.
Nice. Yes, I also think that's not a job that's going to be ending soon. It's just going to be having more and more demands in the future. So since you are very young, you still don't, you're not currently working as a software engineer,
No,
right?
no,
No?
not currently.
Like as a student, what does your day-to-day look like, or like a regular student
As a
working
student,
day?
I think it depends on which part of the semester you're in. In the first semester, I had to do a lot of small exercises and reading up on a lot of theoretical knowledge, and from reading not just from books, because books can be too static for engineering, but reading from internet sources a lot. Yeah, that forms a huge proportion of my time during my early semester. And then as we moved on to larger and larger projects, that's when it began to become even more exciting. I get to work with a lot of with other students on large projects, which are sequenced in a way that they become increasingly complex and larger, and with that comes increasing a need and requirement for greater management of in terms of making decisions, like the people who have come before me have said. You have to make a lot of decisions and planning and managing and communicating and working together, and that's been a valuable experience. Yeah, and that forms, yeah,
Okay.
so to answer the question, that's what I did during my semester now.
Yeah. And also you work a lot, you end up working on these projects with also people that are working in the industry.
Yeah,
So it's nice to have that contact. So what made you decide to study software engineering at ELU?
I decided to study at ELU, given my reasons for software engineering before, is that because I find the curriculum to be particularly appealing. Point by point, though, sorry, having a bit of a
No problem.
so the thing that appeals to me in particular about ELU's curriculum is that its module-to-module progression seems to be very, very well designed compared to other universities. So, for example, if you look at curriculum in other areas, they might list out a lot of good sounding and theoretically good sounding topics that they cover a lot month by month, but it doesn't seem to have a clear linear progression that is designed by the university. And I knew that's going to be a problem if you're trying to do something that requires step-by-step learning. And so module to module progression was one of them. Another part was that ELU seems to be a lot more. If you look up on the periphery, there seems to be a lot more information. It seems to be a lot more active in pursuing opportunities in the communities, talking to people, communicating, collaborating with industry experts. That's appealing to me. And their philosophy also that they publish seems to be very focused on getting practical experience and getting good education, not just providing books and then hoping the students would learn from it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very an active kind of learning. So you actually do learn in the end. Can you tell us a little bit about your experience in the program, like things that you learned or things?
Yeah. So one of my hypotheses that I created when I wanted to join ELU or software engineering was that there can be nothing that replaces the value of experience. You can read a lot of things, but if you do not have the experience to tie them together and integrate them into one thing that you can easily remember, that's not going to be that's not going to be effective in learning. Now, this hypothesis turns out to be proven true, I think, for my year studying here, and that working two things in particular: working with my peers and working with them on large projects and managing them together, and on top of figuring out how to solve technical problems, proves to be, I don't know how to emphasize that it cannot be bought by through any other means except through getting your hands dirty on the nuts and bolts, I think. So that's my experience. Yeah, on the yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I also did my master's at ELU, and this project-based learning helps you a lot to understand how everything works because not everything is theoretical. I think you understand more when you're actually doing it instead of just reading about it, like you said.
Mhm.
And then, so why did you decide to study online rather than face-to-face?
Well, the pandemic. That's the answer that I have. Not a lot to
Okay.
elaborate on. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uncertain
no.
about
I,
whether there would be lockdown anymore or whether there would be danger in going abroad, especially with legal things involved.
yeah. And what? How do you think your studies is going to help you with your career in the future? I guess.
Yeah. So my theory about software engineering is that, well, I was looking for something that, for my future, something that an education that could provide two criteria, that it has an immediate value and it has an enduring value. And software engineering turns out to fulfill both of these criteria very well. And that its immediate value is obvious, and that first is management and decision making and designing thinking process is something that not a lot of other degrees or education can provide. I said it before, computer programs are very malleable. You can change it very quickly and learn, get feedback from it, and work with other people. And on the other points, being sorry, I keep forgetting things.
No problem.
What was the question again? Sorry.
It was, how do you think the studies will help you in your future career?
Oh yeah.
Your
The
future.
second point being for its immediate value is that software engineering has a very viable bedrock opportunities in terms of the demand. You don't have to be particularly entrepreneurial or risky to pursue this field, even though, and this leads on to my next point, it has a very enduring value in not only computer knowledge are going to become essential in a very information and knowledge economy, but a lot of engineers in the new days are becoming more successful at transitioning from engineering and technical orientings to forming companies or something else like that. So thinking long term, that's a very enduring value. And yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like a bunch of people before and speakers before talked about this interpersonal skills that you need as well in
Yeah.
software engineering, not only the technical skills.
In the old days, it would be very difficult to find an engineer who makes it successful in less technical part. But that's very old, because that's in the 19th century and early 20th century. If I read my history very correctly, I think that frequency of engineers making it successful in companies from branching off and spinning off is turning out a lot more and more common, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think so too. And then to wrap a little bit, do you have any advice you would give to other aspiring engineers like you?
I think it would be too early for me to be able to provide any advice. But coming from me personally, looking out for information from the internet and from people, is that there's a lot of advices out there. Not a lot of them are good. A lot of them are pressuring you or could be sometimes manipulative. So it's very good to think independently and to take your own pace in deciding about your very own future. Yeah.
Yeah, I believe when you do it, think about your future with passion, it's good enough. So thank you very much, Adrian, for your time and sharing with us a little bit of your path and your ideas about software engineering. So thank you for coming.
Thank you too for the opportunity.
Of course. And then to close it all up, I want to thank everyone. Everyone has joined us today, participated actively, and shared your invaluable insights. I want to extend my appreciation. Also, the engagement, enthusiasm so thank you. And together we have created this environment of sharing and learning and collaborating, and that is amazing. I would also want to express my gratitude to every speaker that came to our stage, lended their expertise, their experiences, their wisdoms. Also want to dedicate a special mention to our tech support and marketing team, Ibrahim and Sedna. Their efforts behind the scenes have ensured the smooth running of the summit. So thank you. And also, I don't want to forgetting to acknowledge the vision and guidance of our founder, Alper. So his support and commitment to foster this platform for knowledge and exchange really made this summit a reality. And last, I want to express my gratitude to everyone that took the time to attend this summit, whether it's a speaker, participant, an observer, or anything. So if you want to learn a little bit more about the organizers, which is ELU, and stay connected with their future endeavors, I encourage you to follow us on our social media platforms, also our website, Amsterdam.tech. Just reminding everyone that we are rebranding. And stay tuned for upcoming events, webinars, and initiatives that will further your growth and exploration. So until we meet again, everyone stay curious, keep learning, and embrace all of the possibilities that can lie ahead. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice end of the evening. Thank you.